Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we're going to be taking a look at BADA and HARRYJUNE's collab class 2, Kansh is Breathe from Just Your Academy. And what's really cool is this is a Patreon request, so thank you Gabby for the request. I'm very excited to look at this. I'm very familiar with BADA's movement, not quite so much with HARRYJUNE's, but I will learn about it today. And normally what I look at with the classes is we look at the choreographer's take first, because it's normally the format of the Korean class footage is how that goes. Choreographers go first, and then we kind of analyze it, kind of give some, just perspective on it, which is really cool. And then they normally have, I think they do groups, and for me it does feel like we have quite a few groups to look at, so that'll be really fun. Let's go ahead and check it out. The reverb on that is really cool. Nice. Nice. Ooh, that's cool. That was fun. That was fun. Okay, let's take a look back here. Yeah, we got lots of people. This looks like, yeah, from Bebe, like Team Bebe from Street Dance Girl Fighter. Some of these girls, I recognize her. So, all right, let's go back. We got a lot of people that we're gonna be seeing, I feel, here, which is cool. All right, from the top, I really like this choreo. It looks cool. Syncopation is sick. Reverbs, super nice, very cohesive collectively. Love that. I made it 0.75 it just so I can really make sure I cover everything. Yeah. So. Love that little doo-doo-doo. You hear that little in the track. They use the shirt. Doo-doo-doo. So if you didn't have a shirt, you in trouble for this class. Bring it through like the hip rotation round, and it causes the arms to kind of have like a triggered effect by having that pull of the hip. Doom, 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 digging it out. Love that. Doo-doo-doo. Notice with the head, they allow the head to create an extra moment with it. DDD. Instead of just bringing it up, they're allowing the head that's attached to the torso, which allows the chest to come up ever so slightly to make that more of a moment, which I really like. Now that part was freaking sick, where they take it and then they pull it down. Really cool fixed point. And then they bring it in, bring it back in. Notice that they pull in by the pelvis and the hips, and then whenever they do a pelvic thrust, you're able to see it more accented because you were already looking in that general area because of the pull from the move before. So that was really cool to see. With the pivot, a little groove there, that pivot and a dig, just nice and subtle. Is it because they're in, trying to stay in the framing? Possibly, but also it's really nice, subtle drop a little bit of movement, or drop of, not pacing, but you know how you had such loud extroverted movement, it was more introverted, more intimate in nature, if that makes sense. And so that's why that works really well. Building up the energy right there, it allowed this moment to be a lot bigger because we had something so subtle happen before. So they go from the front to back, diving it through, boom, do-do-do, and then they take the front foot, they scuff it, then they take it, rotate it, and dig. So it's really nice rotation happening with both legs, which I appreciate. It does make it more complicated and more difficult whenever you have both legs have something tricky to integrate and they're slightly different. It's hard, and this looks really cool. I'm also trying to think, if I was in this class, how much of this would I get? I think I would feel really good about this part, and also I think this fixed point I'd be a huge fan of. But some things that are like more simpler, I think I would really struggle with. Or it's one of those things too, when you learn complex syncopation, or you learn some things that have like a polyrhythmic index behind it, if you get off on it or it feels off to you, you can probably very quickly get off on other things, right? And there's a lot of skills on how you can build choreo retention. Galen Hooks has a whole method on it. She's a really great person you can look at. But for me, in my personal experience, going to different parts of the room is what's really going to help you. Here's why. Because whenever you are dancing, so for instance, if they were they know the choreo because it's theirs, but they taught it too, and when you teach it, your brain's going to process it more and you're going to be more in tune with the actual choreo. So they probably didn't feel as comfortable with it before coming to class as they do now because they taught it. So that's one thing. Second thing is, if you're a student in the classroom, a suggestion, which I do for myself, and it does help. Now, it's not the fix all end all be all, but it does help if you are really struggling with it, especially in like a convention setting. It's a really good thing to try. Don't stand in the same spot the whole class. Here's what's going to happen. The moment you go in small groups, you're going to transfer from that spot to somewhere else. Your body and your brain's going to be like, whoa, 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 this is a new environment. Recalibrate. And you're going to start forgetting stuff. If you ever struggle with small groups, that may be a reason why. Not saying the only reason, but that is something you can look at. So what I purposely do is I move around the room to learn the information. Of course, there's like times it can look disrespectful depending on if you have like your back turned, if the teacher's talking. In a convention, it's a little bit easier to do that. In the classroom, I try to just be very subtle about it, where I go and it looks like I'm trying to look and see what they're doing, but I really just try to find another spot in the room that's different than where I was. So it helps me understand the choreography more fully, regardless of where I am in the space. That will help when you are in small groups. Second thing is when you have a camera. This is a trained skill. Just like knowing where to look in the camera, knowing where to stand for the camera. Also, there is a natural pressure and adrenaline that comes in when you have a camera in front of you, because it's recorded in comparison to, oh, if I'm not recorded, it's okay if I fail. It's going to be recorded if I fail. So there's like that little emotional, like kind of mental block that you can experience with that too. I experience that more so. Like small groups is fine when I get in front of a camera. So like when I get called out in class or at convention and they ask me to like be center in the camera, I literally look at them and I say, I am not good. I need somebody up there doing the choreo with me. You can't just rely upon me to know it. This ain't my choreo. I'm a student of it right now. And thirdly, how I understand how my body and how my brain processes when I'm in front of a camera. I don't take class, nor am I facilitating classes where I am, where that has a camera in the classroom, because it is training certain skill sets, which is great, but also it can sacrifice the beauty of failing in class. That's just like an overall note. A lot of people are learning that. That's something I've always seen and I've always said, maybe not in front of a camera, but it's definitely been a topic of conversation. I'm not the biggest fan of cameras always being an expectation in the classroom, because it feels like no one's allowed to fail and everybody has to be a certain level of competency. Does that make sense? But that's just a complete side note, not projecting that onto here, but because we're looking at class footage, it feels appropriate to talk about. So here, I like that when they take it, boom, boom, love the build up, using the leg to integrate within it, boom, with a big, huge dip was really, really nice to see there. Hitting it through, boom, boom, really love that energy as well. Love that. It's cool with the I like the little clap, boom, boom. They switch places, most likely. This is a little bit of HARRYJUNE's vibes. BADA was enmeshed all in that. They probably, they just switch up halfway through, which looks great. It feels about halfway. A lot of the syncopation does feel very BADA though. Dig, dig, do, boom, boom. Very more femme, because you notice that he's tucking that pelvis in and making it more like, like the models, like Versace, or when they do sunglasses, they have like that kind of curve to the body with an inversion of the feet. That's kind of how he's approaching this posture, which makes it look a little different. Switching it through, do, love that choice. Then we take it, I love this part, with very quick feet, and then we dig it. Boom, boom. That's a really, really fun groove that I think I saw it in Super by 17. It's just having that little extra dig. And yes, I've seen it in like Street Woman Fighter, Street Man Fighter. I just like this groove. It's a fun transition. Notice he really goes for it using the hips. She kind of marches through it, which both look great. Hitting it through, he really dips it down, boom. And honestly, whenever you have people go, whoa, most likely it could stem from they're making some choices that just showcase like how they're doing it. It's a little different than the choreo, or they could be going past where they did the choreo. That's where you get a lot more audience interactions, when there's changes that are made and it looks cool. Does that make sense? So that was a nice little moment. They dig it through. Like the marches, once again, this does feel more simpler, so this is actually a great opportunity. If you're struggle busting through that first section, you can get it together in section 2. So I appreciate it when choreographers implement or put this kind of stuff in. It feels like you're allowing your dancers to be set up for more success by having those breathing moments. They hit it, and then they transfer the energy over to the side. I like that swing. Boom, love that energy there. Dun, love that little dun with the chest and the double tap of the foot. Super nice to see. That was really, he had a freaking smooth turn on that though. Woo! Because he had the opposition of the chest in cadence to that foot being extended. That was super sick. Diving it in. I like that. Once again, we saw that in crazy form. ATs, that kind of dig. Yes, it's more of a viral move. Double hit, boom, boom. Notice it was more an external chest hit. That's why it hit that way. It wasn't internal, because their bodies kept staying up whenever they were doing it. I said, hey, that was really, really fun. Definitely a fan of that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at some of these groups. Okay, I did just some quick digging. HARRYJUNE is a part of a group called DKB, which is a K-pop group. Honestly, very impressive. I do know nowadays a lot of idols can really hold it down in class, which is really, really fun. Now, the kicker is now this, because I know originally idols were not considered dancers. Totally fine. Meaning like back then in the day, because now like we're in a place where idols can keep it down pretty well. They can hold it down on a choreographic front for sure. I've seen that, especially Gen 5. Wowzers. Now, the real question is this. Freestyle component of the style they're choosing to justify. That's the kicker that you don't see as often with choreographers and with idols. So that is something that I look forward to seeing growth in, just like we saw growth in idols having more of a choreographic mentality of understanding how to do the choreography and go more full with it. I hope to see more in the sense of like the freestyle component, because that is more culturally sound in the styles that they're doing, if that makes sense. BADA too, gotta be honest. BADA, she didn't have, here's the thing, BADA got very lucky in Street Woman Fighter. I said that there and I'll say it here. She got very lucky with who she was against. If she was against Baby Sleek, if she was against Sarah, it could be a very different result. You know what I mean? Like, and also whenever she was up against Halo during that battle, Halo was injured. So Halo did not give her best round. So BADA got very, very fortunate in her choices. She also takes more of a choreographic lens on how she freestyles, which is cool, but it doesn't help for multiple rounds in a battle. So like in a tournament, she would probably be, she'd be able to make it through prelims. I really do feel that way. But making it to like top 16, top 8, I doubtful, because it's there's a creativity stamina that is required of freestyle that what choreographers struggle with, myself included, if you don't heavily intensely study the exploration of movement within the style. So here's the thing, at the end of the day, she's a choreographer, she knows it, she vibes with it, and it's great, and I really like seeing her when she does freestyle. I really love her choreography. She's one of my favorite choreographers in Korea prior to her even being on Street Woman Fighter. One reason why I watched Street Woman Fighter was because of BADA, but I had never seen her without a mask on. Because I had just been watching her only with the mask whenever it come across my page. So all that to say, really cool that she's as successful as she is now. Her choreography definitely deserves it, and I really hope that we're able to see BADA grow within freestyle in the future. Now let's talk about this group. So this right here, I think she's with, oh yeah, now I have it at 0.75. Let's bring it back up to normal. Just take a look what the choreo actually is. Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we got some street dance girl fighter represented here. Very clean. I like that. Notice this little boom as they bring it up. Really, really cool to see that. Yeah. Marching, she marched more with the chest, not with the hips on that. Little tap tap, which is really nice, turning it through. Doom. Yep. Yeah, we'll have a little freestyle moment. Hey, love me a little ticking action. Woo! Look at her syncopating it. Yeah, she looks familiar, but I don't quite remember. Yep, come on, girl. Team baby, man. Nice. Nice. Great build of energy through that. Yep. Notice that her pocket is like building up from the internal and bringing it up from there. Who we got here? Let me see. Oh, some people love to wear bucket hats to cover half their face, which is fine. Yes. We got Bebe, Team Bebe represented on this side, as you should. Love the fullness right here. Boom, boom. Hey, hey. With that march, I think that's something like I really love the pull of it, depending on the type of individual who does it. And I don't think it was choreographed that way. I think that's what was added by HARRYJUNE, which is my point, is that I really like the little fingerprint additions to that. I love that. Are we freestyling now? Now, a lot of people may be like, Jess, they're freestyling here. My point is not handling a 1 round or handling on a track that you're very familiar with. If we gave them a different track, if it was 4 rounds deep, how would they hold? That's kind of my point. Is that they can choreograph to match the overall aesthetic of your track because that's what they're trained to do before and after on demand. But when it comes to an actual cypher in session, you don't see very many dancers hold it down in that way that do heavy choreography. That is true. Now, is it always going to be that way? No. I like the freestyle choices. It's fun. I like how that slam down with the fits was really cool. Nice group. Little marches. It's just fun. Here we go. Who do we have in this group? There's a lot of people that I probably know. I can't recognize them because, like I said, all of them are wearing ball caps when sometimes they don't, or they're not wearing their normal style that I'm used to seeing. It's been a hot minute since I've seen them. Very clean. Yep, let that hair go, sir. Let the fringe speak. I'm shocked she's able to keep that toboggan on like that. Mine would go flying. Yep, nice groove there. Bringing it back. Da-da-da-da. Yep. Great syncopation, the turn. Okay. That's cool. It's a beautiful, honestly, it's probably one of my favorite lengths. So that was like perfect length to challenge yourself, but also really be able to showcase your craft. Now we got a lot of freestyle moments, which feels we got more time in class, which I really like. Yeah! Did you see that ISO? God, that was cool. He syncopated that so well. Yep. Boom, boom, boom. That was cool. Yes. Woo! Nice. I like his floor choices there. Great exploration of that. And the push outs too. Woo! That was a great turn. Very stable. Melting it down. Nice. Yeah. Great hitting that bass on that. That was cool. So, in general, I really like the choreography. I think it looked freaking sick. I think the dancers all brought, I mean, they have like that typical, we're gonna call it what it is. It's that typical cleanliness that you see, and they're following, because like I said, I talked about it in another video, pro dancers, a lot of things sometimes is emulating what the choreographer is intending, right? So it depends on what the teachers here, like with BADA and with HARRYJUNE, the question is, how do they describe it and how do they want them to execute the choreo? Where they like, I want you to match us. I want you to, here's our schema, here's our blueprint, do what you want with it. Because you're able to have more privilege of exploration of your own artistry in class in comparison to a job. That is true. Just like a choreographer, if you're on a job, regardless of a small scale or big scale, on a small scale for sure, you definitely deal with this. It's there is a very particular, hey, this is what we want. This is what we need you to do. We picked you because of this, and this is what we want to see. And that's what you got to do. You know what I mean? It's the follow through on that. And in this case, yes, it makes sense how a lot of them kind of carry their movement in a very particular way. It could be because a lot of them take from BADA often, maybe take a lot from HARRYJUNE. I haven't seen a ton of his work. So maybe that is the case as well. Also with Just Jerk, they have a niche or they have a type of genre of movement that they do. I am excited to hopefully go there when I'm in Korea to possibly take a class or two. It honestly depends on who the instructors are. I go off of instructors, not studio. So yeah, they got a great lineup on the weekend when I'm there. I'm gonna be vibing it out at Just Jerk Academy. But if 1 mil's got a better one, I'm gonna go to 1 mil. You know what I mean? I'm not like committed to a particular studio when I go. I'm gonna be like, that teacher I want to learn from, so I'm gonna go there. It pretty much is where I'm at. Maybe I'll let you guys vote. Patreon and YouTube. Maybe that'll be a fun little thing. I got some fun polls coming down the pipeline in regards to my trip to Korea. So keep that in mind. I'm very excited about it. But all that to say, yes, they're definitely on the cleaner side. It does feel like we see the fingerprints of how BADA would do the choreo here. You also can tell by the fashion. Some of them, of course, are crewmates as well. The Street Dance Girl Fighter. I like the forcing of the freestyle to help grow in that way. It's a great skill to grow in. But it doesn't surprise me. Like, I don't see, honestly, there's not a ton of uniqueness until you see the freestyle, if that makes sense. So, like, the artistry comes in whenever they're kind of able to be themselves. Here they are trying to emulate how BADA and HARRYJUNE do it, and I would be wanting to do that as well, building it up, pulling it through. And honestly, they hit the music pretty well, and sometimes when there's a choreographer who does choreo, and part of me is like, this feels... there's like a particular texture that I really want to integrate in the choreo that the choreographer didn't state, nor are they physically doing, but they didn't say I couldn't do it. In class, is what I try to do for myself because I really care about the music. Here, they did a freaking great job on the musicality front, so I don't think I would have changed. I mean, I wouldn't really have changed anything. It looks great. The syncopation is cool. Honestly, I'd be so worried of making sure I got to pick it up because remember, I would have to approach it as a visual learner. Yes, I know Korean, but just not enough to be able to understand to the degree and ask questions and do details. So I'll have to get what I get, you know, and hopefully it works, you know. So that's another little thing. I'm looking forward to taking a class where they do not speak English, and it's just all, I just have to figure it out. It's kind of scary, but it's gonna be kind of cool though. Not gonna lie. So some of these freestyles are really cool. My personal favorite, let me see, I think it was it this one? I think it was, let me see. That was fun. I don't know if it was this one. That was cool though. I like that. Boom, that was cool. That was fun. Da-da-da-da right now. It's cool. I love that. There's a good chance. Yeah, it's fun. I don't know. Is he... That is really funny. He's like, oh. That was really fun to see. I think it was this group. Fixed points look fine. Right there, very laid back, and the choice on that. Let me see. Freestyle was... I think it was right here. Maybe. Yeah! That was my favorite. That was my favorite one. That ba-da-da-ba! God, that was good. I like that one. I'm a fan of it. That was fun. So can we talk about how freaking large this room is? I'm not used to rooms being that big. You know the red room at Millennium? It ain't that big. Not as big as this room. I bet your bottom dollar it's not. And they can fit a ton of people in here. But then, once again, if I go and I take a class and I go in, I'm like, wow, this is small. Then I'll be able to retract that statement. But I love the little punch. It's fun, you know? Respect all. That's a Kansh shirt right there. But anyway. That was a really fun syncopation of the challenge. Yeah. Boom. Really nice that he hit that bass. It's cool. And I like that everyone's a fan of it. Notice people get really, really, really excited whenever somebody really kills the beat, where they took that beat and they made it their own, and they, you know, and it felt like they were very intentional with how they were carrying their movement throughout it. So in general, really, really like this class. I feels that we got to grow. We got to see some growth happen with those, especially those who may be getting work or doing work actively in this side of the industry. It's a good push to kind of be like, hey, I want you to go for it, and like motivating them to freestyle. It's great, good quality. I still stand by what I said though. I feel like I can tell with some of them, they do have more of a fluency of movement exploration, especially the ones who really syncopated it well. In terms, you can see the organic transitions. My guy who did a lot of threading on the floor, that's a great example. I would say my guy that had like a crumb posture as he approached it, that was really cool. So I'm not saying that nobody in the room is ciphering or sessioning or doing anything in a freestyle index. No, I'm talking about what I saw from Street Woman Fighter. You could obviously tell those that are very fluent in battles and fluent in freestyle, and those who are not. And you can't not talk about that, you know. But in class, that's something that I am very intrigued on, because in Korea, I don't know what has kind of like overlap between what's happening in America, because those are some big problems that, well, I mean, they weren't problems at first, but they're problems now. Truly, the expectation of I'm going to get filmed, like, that's not, honestly, I don't think that's the best expectation to, I mean, it's not the fault of those who have that expectation. It's the fault of we've allowed it for so long, because it's a really great way to have a visual portfolio and stuff. But I'm not speaking about these choreographers at all when I say this, so please keep that in mind. I'm speaking mostly about, there are some choreographers out there who use the class as a way to further promote their brand and not actually teaching the students and the camera. Does that make sense? Like, so I'm not projecting that onto them at all. There are choreographers in America that are like that, and I'm not a fan of that because they're not teaching. They're just choreographers who want to, who want a cool video. That's a disservice, and I paid money to be here to learn, but you're gonna spend 20 minutes out of an hour 20 class just filming all your friends. Like, you could have done that after. You could have reserved the space after to film that. Like, truly. So that's no, I am not the only one who thinks this way. There are so many people who are actively in LA who experience this day in and day out. My time that I've been there and the conversations that I've had with those that are there, as well as what I experience here at home, it is a very real thing, and it is something that is not the healthiest for those that want to grow in a craft that they feel very vulnerable by. That's my overall note for that. But in the sense of, if you're going to a class, it's a choreo class, and the goal is to learn choreo retention and understand the movement quality of a choreographer. This is a great class for that, truly. But this should not be the only type of class that you experience in a studio, which is why there is a studio called Famous in Korea that I will most likely be going to, because they have basics of, like, they have fundamentals and grow. Here's the thing. I understand basics of a lot of styles, but that doesn't mean that I can't hear somebody else's perspective or see a different structure of how they train a basic fundamental. Like, I can still find joy and enjoyment and grow as an educator in that way, right? But once again, I'm a teacher and I'm an educator. I'm not just a student, and I'm not a pro dancer. So that's, like, I'm not an active pro dancer anymore. Like, I was for a little bit, but I don't really dance professionally as much anymore. So, all that to say, this was really, really fun, and I'm really glad that we got to take a look at it, because there's some really interesting things that we were able to talk about because of it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch, and thank you, Gabby, for the recommendation. I'm excited to always be able to take a look at those who really want to support on Patreon in this way, to where they want me to take a look at something of theirs that I normally wouldn't. And here's the thing. I've really looked at BADA Lee a lot as a mover, as a choreographer, and there's been so many incredible things about what she's brought to the table that I am truly an admirer of. And if she is teaching, I would probably really want to try to get in that class, just so I can have that firsthand empathetic experience there, so I can have that to go off of for future videos I look at with her. Because I know this is not going to be the only time I look at BADA, right? I have like hundreds of videos now at this point that BADA is involved in, which is awesome. If you want to be a part and actually influence the things that I watch, I do have a tier on Patreon called In the Pocket, and that's where Gabby is oh so graciously participating in, and where you get a guaranteed reaction every month. And it can be anything from a dance class, it can be from a competition footage. I do have some stipulations, but of course that's all in the description for that. But yeah, this has been super wonderful, Gabby. Thank you. This was awesome, and I am looking forward to seeing more of, just the natural class footage, and hopefully I'll be able to physically be able to be a part in the space in one of these in the future. Very excited for that. We'll probably have a poll out for that, and you guys can influence what I take. Who knows? We'll see. Once again, I'm Jess. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.